Our next section is going to show you why it is that I'm so confident I can teach almost anyone how to utilize this strategy. A mortgage loan has very few moving parts, and in this section I'm going to detail them all for you. This basic foundation on loan structure is going to clearly show you why you can finally have the peace of mind you've always wanted when it comes to understanding your investments and knowing how they work from the inside out. Now that you've decided to become a private lender, I'm going to educate you on how to achieve success by private lending on trust deeds. What is a trust deed, you say? Well, don't worry. A trust deed is essentially a mortgage, which I know most of us are pretty familiar with. So what is trust deed investing all about? Trust deed investing is simply investing into loans that are secured and collateralized by commercial or residential real estate. Most trust deed investments are relatively short-term loans, many being under 5 years long, with most being even 2 years or less. These loans are made to professional real estate investors, who the banks are currently reluctant to lend to. The banks are currently reluctant to lend to them not because that the loans are particularly risky, but because the banks already have a great deal of bad real estate loans that are already sitting on their balance sheets as a result of the loose lending practices of recent years. Presently, banks are extremely unwilling to fund loans unless they fit a very strict set of criteria. For this reason, real estate investors out there have a very limited financing options available to them, which is good for you, the bank, because you're able to command a relatively high interest rate. So what makes trust deed investing so attractive? If structured properly, trust deed investments offer an attractive rate of return with relatively low risk. Trust deed investors usually earn single-digit annual returns that are paid monthly. In some cases, returns above 10% are possible. These returns are very favorable relative to other investment options with similar risk profiles. The risk of losing your money in a trust deed investment is mitigated by having solid collateral and very strong borrowers. Evaluating this collateral and these potential borrowers will be addressed later in this course in the risk section. So why are trust deeds the place for you to start in your private lending strategy? Well, simply put, because they're extremely simple to learn, since there's very few moving parts. A trust deed is essentially structured just like any other mortgage that you're familiar with. A trust deed basically is a mortgage. A mortgage is simply a debt instrument that is secured by collateral of a specific piece of real estate. The borrower on a mortgage is obligated to pay back that debt with a predetermined set of payments which include the predetermined interest rate. The risk and return on a mortgage is very easy to determine on the surface since there are such few moving parts. A mortgage only has 4 major parts outside of who is the bank and who's the borrower. Those 4 parts are loan amount, interest rate, loan term, and collateral. Let's take a quick look at each one of those parts. First, you have the loan amount. This is simply the amount of money that the borrower is looking to borrow from the bank. Don't let the fact that this number can often be much more money than you currently have in your retirement account deter you, because when private lending, you can pool your money with other private lenders to acquire the necessary lump sum needed to fund the loan. This can have many advantages, including being able to participate in higher quality loans secured by stronger collateral. We will go into this concept of pooling funds in greater detail a little later on in this course as well. Next, you have the whole reason that we're here, the interest rate, the money made. The interest on a mortgage is the money you can make, generally represented as an annual percentage rate. A trust deed investor can easily expect returns between 5 and 12% on any given loan that has a solid level of collateral. The majority of trust deed loans are interest-only loans. Interest-only meaning that the borrower will be paying the fixed interest monthly without paying any additional money to pay down the principal that's been put up by you, the bank. The principal is then returned in one large lump sum at the end of the loan, which is called a balloon payment. On an interest-only loan, monthly interest can be determined by simply taking the interest rate and dividing it by 12. That number will be what you can expect to receive as a monthly payment every month directly into your bank account or your self-directed IRA. Loan term is simply how long the borrower is looking to borrow your funds and how long they're agreeing to pay interest for. So this can be for 2 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 30 months or 30 years. Lastly, we have the collateral, which the collateral is a real tangible asset that is backing up your loan that gives the borrower an incentive to pay back the loan as well as provide you, the bank, as a way of being able to recoup your money and principal should the borrower decide not to pay your loan back. How do we determine the value of the collateral? Well, the collateral will have a dollar value attached to it through an appraisal by an authorized appraiser. In order to be a valid appraisal, the appraiser will have to be licensed from a regulatory body that governs the jurisdiction that the appraiser operates within. An appraiser can use any number of valuation methods in order to determine the appropriate value to assign the collateral. The most common method that is used is by using the average selling prices of several similar recently sold properties that lie within the same vicinity as the proposed collateral. This is why trust deed lending is one of the safest ways to invest your money today, because a trust deed loan is secured by something tangible: land, houses, other valuable buildings with real value. It isn't like the stock market where you can instantly lose all your money. The real estate itself will always have a value attached to it that you can use to recover our investment should we ever need to. Let me give you an example of these moving parts of a mortgage. Let's say that the Bank of U decides to lend John Doe $100,000 for 12 months at 12% interest rate. All of this is collateralized by a $200,000 office building. So the loan amount is $100,000, the interest rate is 12%, and monthly would equate to 12% divided by 12 months equals 1% a month right back into your bank account. This could go on for up to 12 months. So if John Doe repaid the loan to you after 6 months, you would have made only 6%, which is still 12% annualized. But you've gotten your money back and you go reinvest it on another loan to continue making your interest. And if John Doe doesn't pay back our loan, well, we foreclose and sell his $200K property for at least $100,000 to recoup our principal. Easy, right? This isn't rocket science, it's just a mortgage and simple math. You should now understand the basic moving parts of a trust deed mortgage. In our next section, we're going to dive deeper into understanding the return and how we can make money by lending on these short-term mortgages.